Monster.
Oh man, that's good.
Lately, the humidity's been so bad.
I don't know. I'll say 2 points off.
Jenna said that earlier. I don't know.
No, I'm moving over here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think she'd want to sit by her side, so.
That's what we need more time to do.
I was so sad. You probably like,
Could maybe somebody else sit by me and I can talk to somebody different?
It really messed it up whenever I started sitting here. But I couldn't sit here anymore with that TV. I have to sit here.
I know.
When I'm really watching TV.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah. I love that.
Wow.
You should have heard her on the phone yesterday. It was really funny.
Yeah, I was like, it was on discount. It had like $700 off. I was like, I'm getting the TV. And they delivered it to my house, so
Wow.
I was like,
Even
okay.
better.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it at?
I bought it from Best Buy and just did an order ship delivery. Yeah. And so then I had a friend come over and help me trade out. Because that other little one, I mean, it was okay for temporary, but my eyes couldn't really see the screen very well. So this solved that problem. Especially after seeing just the TV.
I know.
I need one of those.
I was gonna say they look like that. That's Jimmy. Shelby has a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you want 3 more neon kids?
Actually, I didn't. Otherwise I would. Yeah, because I just added 4 and a snail. And they told me it's coming down. I've got 9 fish and a snail. And that's. I would say they say 1 gallon for 1 liner or 2 liners.
Yeah, she literally just bought the fish a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Shelby, are you looking to sell or give? Because Bethany would be.
Okay.
Stop her.
Yeah, just stop her face.
The one that looks like
hey, I'm going to give you a fish.
Say really loudly during service. Bethany, when you watch this later.
Fish.
So, just the fish?
Yeah.
I'm using this for later, so you guys think when I'm done with it.
So
So you know.
Okay.
So you're not like, that's weird. Why is it on my, why is it sitting on my coffee table?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I get that. Kind of spend your entire like day off.
And you
I
saw
just want my
beans.
skills. That's it. I just want my skills.
When one is like slime on the process, what do they do? I was just checking for a.
Yeah.
But it wasn't,
And
I went to the, I tried Firehouse Pottery in Springfield because I had never been there before, but when Susie came down, the other one that I usually, P3 is the one that I usually go to, but they were so close. So we went to Firehouse and they had those, I was like, the ones that I had, one of them I had too close to the stove and it was plastic and it burned. Yeah. And so I threw that one out, and then I gave the other one to my niece, who just got her first new home that is hers, and she bought it, her mom and dad bought her a
Alright, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Pretty
Good.
good.
Good. Awesome.
Yes. Bolt.
Both good.
He said, I'm good. That's right.
I want to make sure we all understand.
Bolt.
Well, it's good to be together again, and a few announcements. I think men's group, we're moving to Brad's shop. So Wednesday night at what?
I just asked you last night. It was really fun.
Well, we just decided that this morning.
I'm just saying, it hadn't been offered
Yeah,
yet.
slow down progress.
What's that?
we why would we plan something ahead of time? We can plan it last minute. But anyway, so what is your guys' address?
11541 Gilla.
Okay.
It's Gila.
541.
Gila.
Lane.
And
Like a
it's,
monster.
Yeah, like a Gila monster.
Oh,
Gila, so probably.
well,
So yes, Brad's shop, 7 o'clock Wednesday night is where men's group is moving to. So ladies are still here, is that right?
yes.
At
on
6:30 on Wednesday night?
6:30, Wednesday night.
All right. Youth group will be sporadic over the summer. I'll just be posting a few things here and there. So be watching for that. We do have the bonfire coming up, the 28th. Is that right? 26th?
27th.
27th? Well, it's close. Right in
Last,
there.
last
That weekend.
Saturday in June.
Last Saturday in June at Brad and Tabitha's house. And there is an option that you can camp that night. And we're having church there Sunday morning?
Yeah.
Okay, and then church there Sunday morning, because James can be out of town. So,
And I'll be out of town.
and it'll be handy anyway because we'll all be waking up there.
And then the July 4th weekend I'll be out too, so I don't know what
So
you're gonna
we'll,
be then.
so we'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll figure
okay,
that out.
perfect segue.
Okay.
On, actually turn the camera, so. On Church Track, on the, and there's links to it, I bet Adam will even put a link in the comments at some point. Upper left-hand corner, there's the lines that say menu, and there's a calendar there. You can look at the events. I think the calendar is found under events. And it has every church service and which location it's going to be in. It'll have events like the bonfire. It'll have information. There's a whole bunch that Church Connect will do. I got a text this morning, hey, where's church? I really wanted to text back, look on Church Connect. But, you know, I didn't. I just gave them an answer. But I'm trying really hard to keep all that stuff up to date. So
Yay, Jill,
that-
thank you.
it is the place to go, and yeah. And eventually I'll teach everybody how to.
Ourfamilychurch.churchtrack.com.
Just bookmark it on your homepage and you just go.
Yeah, that was the other thing I showed somebody was
Like and share.
when you get there, at the
Hit the bell
bottom,
notification.
I think both Android and iPhone have a little square with an arrow that points up, like you're gonna share it or you're gonna send it or
You
you're
gotta go
gonna.
into the menu,
Top
the
right
three
on.
little dots.
Okay, sometimes it's the three little dots at the
For the
top.
Android.
Depends on, yeah, but you have the share but there's always a add to homepage,
Mhm.
and that makes it a little square like an app on your phone.
Add to home screen.
Head to home screen, yeah, sorry, screen. But it makes it so you can just click it and it goes right to that website. I have lots of websites saved like
Me
that.
too.
So,
They're great.
yep,
All
right. I'll quit hijacking that.
No, that was good, Jill.
That was good.
So
Awesome.
What's
So
that?
it has been linked into the chat.
Thank you.
sweet. So men's and women's group, end of the month, we're working on a plan for backpacking / whatever you want to do, and that will be in July. And so we will have a date for you. We kind of have a tentative plan, but we'll have a date sometime in the near future. Yeah, Stacy and Don, and other people who live.
And Stacy's sister,
And
and I'm,
Steve,
yeah,
right.
I'm having a brain fart at the moment,
Yeah.
but.
Anyway, anybody who watches this online would be great. So, oh well, let's do this. Somebody coming through the door. Okay.
Oh, yes.
4,
Yes.
3,
Well, cool. Well, wait a second.
1.
All right, we're closed.
All right, it's a Shy. Yay! Everybody say hi, Shy.
Hi.
But let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this morning and a chance to worship you and a chance to get together and share in person. Just pray that as we kind of transition to just light, that you would just kind of take over today and just help us to worship you, Lord. Help us to lift your name and share in the great things that you've done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
darkness seems to hide its face, I rest on His unchanging grace. In high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. My anchor holds within the veil. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is Lord, Lord of all. When He shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in Him be found, dressed in His righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is Lord, Lord of all. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is Lord, Lord of all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together and celebrate that you are Lord of all. There's a lot of storms going on right now, Lord, across our nation, across the world. We just pray that you give us strength to keep you at the forefront and the master of it all, and realize that we can come to you with those storms and with our worries and with our challenges. We just pray that you be with us today as we focus on your word. Have us hear the words that you want us to know and give us the comfort in the fact that you are Lord of all.
lift you up. We just ask that as we break open your word, as we take a look at what you have to say this morning through words, that that you would just take over, Lord, and that it would be all about you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mhm.
Amen. If you need to move around or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I didn't forget, I'm going to give you guys a chance to speak out your wins at the end. But considering today's actual title is Notching Our Wins, I figured we'd go through it a little bit first and talk about it, and then have a chance to. So you might be thinking about, we forgot to do it last week, and so if you've had over the last couple of weeks, you've had any wins. Oh wait, it's not a big deal.
People had opportunity.
Yeah, well, besides, we want to save it up for today anyway. So if you be thinking about some of the wins that you've had, and maybe by the end of the sermon, maybe you'll look at some other things differently, and you'll have some wins that you didn't even know you had. So we're concluding the Passion series. This will be the last week of that, and next week I'm pretty excited about this one, mostly because I don't think I'm speaking near as much during this next one. So you can hear from a bunch of different people, but it is the official title is Awkward, but Jill put together a great photo thing for it, so we're calling it Awkward Things. So you guys will be looking forward to that. That should be pretty cool, kicking off with how awkward was Jesus and just kind of going off from there. So awkward starts next week because, hey, we're all a little bit on the awkward side, so that works out pretty well too. So anyway, so sometimes, when we're talking about notching our wins today, and sometimes it's pretty easy to see a God win, isn't it? I mean, you just know, something happens and you just know it. It's like, oh, God did that. Can you guys, anybody have one, maybe not from the last couple weeks, save your nose, but you can think of over the years where God just, boom.
He's orchestrated our house moves for bigger purposes
Right.
a couple times now.
Yeah.
Like, it's been really obvious to us. Not in the moment, but after the fact, it sometimes took a year for us to see what it was, why he forced us to move when we were not on that page.
Right. Shall we begin?
I got a full academic scholarship to a college I'd never really heard of prior to, and it gave me a lot of opportunities stemming from that. So
Yeah.
I think that was definitely.
So that's awesome. Yeah, God just, boom. Hey, here we go.
I guess not recent anymore, but sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead, Michelle.
Very recently to me, I got the job that I wasn't kind of expecting to, and it was, so I was looking for a job like 3 months prior to that, and I stopped because of something that happened, and I probably wouldn't have the job that I have now if it wasn't for that. Because I just randomly started looking at jobs again, decided it was time.
That's awesome.
Getting the whole Babcock family together right before my dad was diagnosed with cancer. So
Right.
then I'll be cute and with each other.
Right. So sometimes it's really obvious, isn't it? I mean, God just does it easy to say, and then it's easy to go out and be like, okay, man, that's so cool. Guess what God did this week? Or guess what I got to see happen in someone else's life this week, or whatever. And it's just, man, it's just simple to see God moving. Other times, like even what you were saying, sometimes it takes up to a year later before you realize, hey, this is what God is doing. Or sometimes in the middle of it, it's pain, it's struggle, it's hurt, whatever it is, and you're just like, why God? And then at the end you see, oh, And so we kind of had one of those a little bit this week. It was a weird deal. 4 o'clock in the morning, was that Thursday morning, I think it was? I get a call, and we were thinking it's the alarm. We're trying to shut the alarm off. The alarm's not shutting off. What do you do? Oh, it's my phone. Somehow my phone was on silent, but my watch was ringing, and so it's like, what in the world? I finally figured out it was my watch and answered it, and it was a American Inn. It was a motel at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what in the world? And in sleep, and this lady Ilana was her name. She's like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry to call. I've been calling all the churches. I can't get a hold of anybody at 4 o'clock in the morning. Imagine that. But there's a gentleman here. He had a little run-in with the police. They've impounded his car. He has no place to stay. We're just trying to find somebody who can help him out for tonight. So I said, well, hold on a second. Let me call you right back. Are you on the front desk? Because I'm not going to get to play that game.
Yeah.
And so I hung up and called back, and sure enough, she was on the front desk. And I said, here's the deal. I said, I will pay for tonight, but that's it. Just one night. After that, I said, I don't, we can help the gentleman out in any other way possible, but we don't have a lot of money, and one night, I'll take care of that. Okay, that's great, man. Thank you, So I was, oh, hey, cool, that's kind of neat to be able to do that. And so about 10 o'clock the next morning, the manager from American Inn called, and he's like, hey, this guy said he's going to stay another night. I'm just going to put it on your card, but I have to get your approval to do it. And I said, whoa, time out. I said, no. I said, I told the guy one night, personally at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would have probably just said, hey, could you put that on tomorrow night? And figured out something to do for a couple hours. But anyway, that's just me, right? And I said, no. I said, I told the gentleman one night, and he's like, well, he needs to stay another night. I said, that's out of my hands. I said, I've done what I said I would do. Please do not charge the card. We're not going to do this. About 5 minutes later from the guy, no, hey, thank you for last night, no nothing. It was like, look, I've got to stay here tonight, and I don't know what I'm going to do, so you need to pay for it. And I'm just like, whoa. And of course, I'm at work anyway. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know what to tell you, man. He's like, well, what am I going to do? I said, well, I don't know. I said, you might try calling some of the churches that are open now. Because I paid for one night. Well, but I said, man, I got to feed my family too. And he's like, oh, I get that. All right. I'm just, no thank you. So by this time, I'm squirrely, right? I'm just like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to whoop this guy. I'm going to pull a Roy D. Mercer on this guy, And I'm getting kind of squirrely about it, really, honestly. I was like, anyway, I didn't have the right attitude about it. And so I'm in the shower the next morning, because I know I'm not supposed to say this out loud, because some people are visual, and I apologize. But sometimes it's where I do my best thinking. And anyway, I'm getting ready for work the next morning, and God just really says, you know what? It's not about this gentleman. It's about the fact that this gal called every church in town at 4 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get a hold of anybody, but could get a hold of you guys. And next time there's something going on at 4 o'clock in the morning, whether it's somebody who's going to commit suicide or domestic assault or whatever, she knows she can reach someone at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, all right, I'm still a little squirrely, but but that's a win. Okay. Cool, God, that's a win. And so sometimes it takes looking at things through God's eyes to even see a win. It looks like it's a mess. It looks like you got taken advantage of. It looks like you're dumped on. It looks like whatever. And in the long run, God's actually up to something, and there's a win in the middle of that. And sometimes that's hard to see. Sometimes that's hard to pick up and pick out. And so I'm thinking about that, again, getting ready for work. And I'm reminded of the story of Esther. And the reason why I say that is because if you remember the story of Esther, and I know some of you ladies have read, there's like a lot of women's devotional books about Esther and all of that, and I have not read any of those. But the story of Esther is of a young Jewish woman who is basically adopted by her uncle because her parents are both dead. And King Xerxes, of the Persian slash Medes or whatever, he gets in a little bit of a fight with his wife, the queen. And what happened is he basically, we're our family church, gets all drunked up and wants her to come in and prance around in her crown to show her off. And she says, no.
Well, and only her crown.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there is that portion.
We're our family church.
Yeah. So she says no, and of course he gets upset about that because he's the king. And his advice, if you've never read the first chapter of Esther, it is funnier than all get out. Because the advisors, they're just like, listen, king, if you don't do something about this woman, we'll pretend like that's what, if you don't do something with this wench, none of the women in the country or the world are going to listen to their husbands anymore. And they're just going to do whatever they want, and we're not going to have dominion over the household. So you've got to do something. I think that's hilarious. Like, these guys were really worried about the women in the country. I don't know what to do with it. But obviously, they were a little bit more of a dictatorship than they were a partnership. So,
Can I just say?
yes.
It says when the king was feeling good from the wine.
Yeah. Like I said, he was all drunk up.
We're all good.
I mean, it's not that often you say, "Hey, wife, can you come in here and prance around in the crown with nothing else on, so I can show you off?" I mean, you pretty much have to be feeling good from the wine. I would assume. Never done that. So anyway.
Started awkward this.
Yeah, we started awkward today. I mean, so picking up the story in chapter 2, verses 1 through 8, we're going to read that. So Esther, and it is, there's actual book in the Bible called Esther, and it's in the history books. You know what those are? Those would be like the Jobs and those kind of places. This Esther chapter 2, verses 1 through 8. I don't know if somebody wants to read like 4 verses, somebody else wants to read another 4. I'll let you guys decide that. I'm going to get some more water because
Sergio, go.
my water glass from earlier.
Sorry, I went to Esther and started reading her first chapter, and I totally missed where we're going.
We're going to chapter 2, verses 1 through 8.
Okay.
It's a great book.
It is an amazing book. I love Esther.
So 1 is good, but in chapter 2.
Yeah. I explained 1. Now we're in 2.
All right, later when King Xerxes' fury had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what he had decreed about her. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint commissioners of his realm to bring all these beautiful young women into the harem at the citadel of Susa. Let them be placed under the care of Hegai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women, and let beauty treatments be given to them. Then let the young woman who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. This advice appealed to the king and he followed it.
I can see that. Sounded good to him. Bring all the virgins in.
Well,
I mean, that's the story.
That's the story. Okay. So now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai, son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Among those taken captive was Joachim, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hazadah, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. The young woman, who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many young women were brought to the citadel of Susa and put under the care of Hegai. Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hegai, who had charge of the harem.
Awesome. So you kind of get in the picture here. So Vashti had made him mad. He decreed that she couldn't go see him unless he asked for her ever again. Then they decided to replace her. So he goes out and tries to find a suitable queen. They bring everyone in for about a year. They give them beauty treatments and the right food and that kind of thing. And since Esther had become friends basically with Hegai, he gave her more beauty treatments and gave her better food and just kind of took care of her and that for about a year. And then basically she won the beauty pageant. It basically is what it comes down to. He had them all brought in. She had had the best food. She'd had the best beauty treatments for a year. And she was stunning. And the king's like, that's the one. That's it. I want her. What's her name? Esther. Okay, great. And so Esther wins the beauty contest, right? And I don't know. I don't know much about Xerxes. I don't know if like that was a good thing or a bad thing. We've seen some kings over the years who were maybe not a prize. Think of King John and some of those that were. If you see pictures of them, they're like, ooh. I don't think that would be an actual prize to win that beauty contest. So I don't know much about Xerxes. I've never seen a picture of him. I don't think there was digital photography back then. So and I haven't seen a. Where they write on the wall? Anyway, I haven't seen a picture of him, so I don't know if that was a win or not. But it probably felt like a win. I mean, here's a girl who's a orphan. living with her uncle, who becomes queen of the largest empire in the world. And so that's got to be a pretty decent win. But it wasn't the real win, because we know the real win is when she gets to save all her people from total destruction and annihilation. Mordecai and Hashish, or whatever his name is, I don't remember, Haman, get in an argument. Mordecai actually saves the king from a plot to kill him, but then him and Haman get in an argument. Haman decides to kill off all the Jewish people to get rid of Mordecai, and backfires on him. Haman actually gets, in fact, in chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, we'll look at that real quick. Chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, and again, we're still in Esther. Chapter 8, verses 1 through 11. If somebody wants to read a few of those, if somebody else wants to read a few of them, or chapter 8, verses 1 through 11.
That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai, and Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and stood before him. If it pleases the king, she said, and if he regards me with favor and thinks it is the right thing to do, and if he is pleased with me, let an order be written overruling the dispatches that Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite,
Now you know how you guys read it.
Yes, thank you. Devised and wrote to destroy the Jews and all the king's provinces.
So how can I bear to see disaster fall?
Did you want?
Oh,
through
yeah, we're
11?
going through 11.
Yeah.
That's why I'm reading. I just figured I'd take my turn, but if somebody else is reading. Were you reading, Jenny?
Different
Okay.
translation.
Go ahead.
For how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? King Xerxes replied to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews. I have given his estate to Esther, and they have hanged him on the gallows. Now write another decree in the king's name in behalf of the Jews as seemed best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring. For no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked. At once the royal secretaries were summoned. On the 23rd day of the 3rd month, the month of Sivan, they wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the satraps, governors, and nobles of the 127 provinces stretching from India to Cush. These orders were written in the script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of King Xerxes, sealed the dispatches and the king's signet ring, and sent them by mounted couriers who rode fast horses especially bred for the king. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate any armed force of any nationality or province that might attack them, and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies.
Awesome. So Haman gets hung on the gallows that he built to hang Mordecai with, if you remember this story. And then all his estate is given to Esther, who gives it to Haman, or not Haman, Mordecai, her uncle. And then he puts a new decree out saying, instead of killing all the Jews, we're not only going to let them all live, but we're also going to let them, anybody who gives them trouble, we're going to let them kill them all and keep all their goods. So pretty cool story. There's a big win right there, right?
Not just kill and destroy, but annihilate.
Yeah, just completely wipe them out and keep all their stuff. So yeah, that'd be pretty handy. I'd like to have some of those edicts laying around. Probably not. But,
Well, they couldn't undo the one that was already done.
Right.
So they were going to get attacked on that certain day, regardless if people chose to attack them. So they allowed them to defend themselves and go further. You know,
right.
like,
It was their second
yeah.
amendment.
Yeah, exactly.
with the castle doctrine. Basically, for those of you who speak
Stand your ground.
Second Amendment speech, you remember the Second Amendment is the right to bear, keep and bear arms. Yeah.
Shall not.
Also, this story, when you see on the calendar Purim, P-U-R-I-M, and it takes place over the 2 days, that's this is what they're celebrating.
Right.
The story of Esther.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is really neat that they have such long-standing celebrations. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Especially for a woman. I mean, I'm not saying that like I'm being sexist, but in that day and age, you didn't celebrate women near as much as you do, unless they were.
Apparently beautiful.
Well, yeah.
Gave you lots of children.
Yeah. I mean,
He doesn't talk to that at all.
what's
Doesn't
that?
talk about her having children at all.
No, I never did say
First
anything
wife
about that.
already take care of that?
I don't. It's not. I guess not pertinent to the story, but
Don't worry though, she was pretty.
she
Yeah.
was pretty. She doesn't need kids. She's pretty. She's queen now.
We don't even talk about anything else.
I don't think that was the win, but
That helps. I'm just a little salty.
there you go. Why?
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 Yeah.
I named him King Asshole in my
Ah,
notes.
there you go. Because all he cared about was beauty.
And I don't know how to spell his name
Oh,
without
Xerxes.
like looking at it,
Right.
so I'm not gonna.
Cool. Well, it's a pretty crazy story anyway. Whether you like Xerxes or not. No, I'm just joking. But I'm pretty sure she thought she had to win when she became queen. But we really see that God used her passions and gifts, being pretty and having lots of beauty treatments. Hey, God can do anything. I mean, I know a lot of people who have a passion for beauty projects and for doing those kind of things, and they
Well,
like
I think
that's what
she's
they
worth
do.
more than that. I'm just salty that he thinks that
Oh,
she's only
right,
worthy
yeah,
because she's
yeah. But but I know a lot of people who that is their passion, is beauty and makeup and treatments and whatever. I don't understand all of that, and I don't try to get into it. But I mean, if
Spa day for Jeff.
what's that?
Spa day for Jeff.
Somehow I don't think it would help.
God can do lots of things.
He can.
Jeff, you're beautiful on the inside.
Thank you. That makes me feel better.
He's got a great personality.
Not even sure I'd go there. But no. But God used her passions and stuff and gave her a win. And not only gave her a win, but gave all the people. And so sometimes when we use our gifts and our passions, sometimes we win. And sometimes we lose. But the hard part is to look at both of those through God's eyes and see what He's doing. Most of you guys know Alex and Megan. They used to be youth pastors here, and they're pastoring a church in Bolivar now, and actually have moved out of Republic now and bought a new house in North Springfield. But they recently, a couple months ago, they had a preemie, and it's 4 months preemie, so which is crazy. I mean, it was Judah, the lion, and it's been really awesome to see God working in the middle of that. And the biggest thing I say about that would be so easy to, because it's been a struggle. I mean, he's just now come off the innovator, and now he's on external oxygen, and they can hold him, and they can only hold him once a day, or not even every day, just for a few minutes. And it's
Now
been,
they can, right?
yeah, now they can hold him every day. And so it's been just a crazy whirlwind couple of months for them. And in the middle of all of that, probably the coolest thing I've seen, and we're going to keep praying for them and that kind of stuff, but the coolest thing I've seen in the middle of all this is how they've experienced the world of preemie parents and got engaged, and they're meeting people who also have preemies, and there's just this whole world that I didn't even know existed. I mean, Jacob was a little early, but anything like this, and just this whole world of parents who are struggling with the same things that Megan and Alex are now going through, but also able to reach out to other people. And if you see their church page, I mean, it's that we need to pray for this preemie today for this reason, and just the whole world that's opened up. And so I know, and you see it in what Alex and Megan both write, that they're seeing God's hand at work through this whole entire thing. And where some people would have the same thing happen to them and just not think this is, why God? Why are you doing this? What did I do wrong or whatever? They're getting to see God in the middle of all of this and getting to be part of God's plan. And so sometimes you get to see God's plan, just the winds, just boom, boom, boom. And sometimes it's a year later. Sometimes it's I don't know how long it was that Queen Esther was a queen before she got the Jews saved. But I mean, sometimes even in the middle of all of that, it can, sometimes God uses what seems to be an overwhelmingly bad situation for his good. And that's a win. So it's pretty easy to notch our big wins, right? The good stuff. Seeing someone come to Christ, something positive happen, a promotion, more money, whatever it is, a new car, whatever it is. But when things are rough and not going right, we also need to look for what God is doing in those situations and make sure we notch those wins as well. Want to notch more wins? Romans 12, 1 and 2, in the Message. I'll read it. It's okay. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit in without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops warm, well-formed maturity in you.
So that was 11 and 12?
That was 1 and 2 in chapter 12.
I was actually listening to a sermon on the way to work on Wednesday about that.
Yeah, I love that passage. That's like one of my favorite passages in the Bible, especially the way they worded it in the Message. Just take your everyday, ordinary, walking around life. And then I love, probably the reason why I wanted to end kind of this series with that is because in verse 2, right at the beginning of verse 2, it says, don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. And normally in my head, that's like, don't do the things the world are doing. But I think, at least in this application, it really got me thinking about the attitude that I have in the middle of tough situations. And the world is so easy.
You kind of have to step out of the bubble.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in negative situations, whether it's at work or whether it's at home or whether it's at Walmart.
Or it's at 4 a.m.
Or it's at 4 a.m. and your watch is ringing and you can't figure out what it is. It's so easy to become so adjusted to our world and have that same attitudes in those same times where, Paul says very clearly, don't be so well adjusted, don't be so caught up in how the world sees things that you miss how I see things and react the way I want you to. And so how do we notch our wins? Well, sometimes, bam, it's, look at that. I opened the mailbox and there was $100,000 in the mailbox. Well, that'd be pretty easy to come back next week and be like, hey, I got a win. Here's my tie check. But no, it would be really easy to notch that win, right? But it's a little harder to notch the win when you have a flat tire, but it's because of a flat tire that something else happens, that whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And so don't be so easily adjusted to the world that we let Disney or we let friends or we let whatever it is determine how we react to what God is doing, even if it doesn't look the same. Yeah, notching our wins. So now here's a chance for you guys to mill it around, and then we'll give you a chance to notch your wins. So what are your thoughts on that subject?
It's not necessarily a win for me, but when we think about like some of the horrible things that are happening, like COVID, it's hard to see some of the positives that come out of it, but there are several people that got a pay raise because of it, or they're better off. Like, there are so many people that are negatively affected, but there are people that have been positively affected. I think that's important to notice as well. But also, we see a change in the environment around us. Like, we are having less pollution now, and the air is clearing out. Yay. So we see a decrease in some of these negative things that we've seen a rapid increase in years past. So I think that's an important wind to notch as well in the midst of something horrible going on.
Sure.
I think a big part of it, I guess speaking from personal experience, it's easy to say that we can find God in the middle of the turmoil and stuff like that. Like, theoretically, hypothetically, thought experiment wise, I can tell myself, oh yeah, when the next problem comes, I'm gonna look for God in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, but I think what I've learned is that it really is practice. I mean, it's just like training for anything. You can't just get off on the couch and decide you're gonna go run a 5K unless you're like somebody like super strong or whatever. But yeah, Forrest Gump or something like that, I guess. But the thing is, you have to put in some kind of effort in it. It takes us looking for God in the little things throughout life and finding, and listening and opening our hearts. So whenever the big stuff does come, we can have our hearts. Because I'm saying, like, for myself, I've had many opportunities where I wasn't really thinking about God or thinking like, God, how can you use me in this circumstance? There was a lot of me yelling at God, going, why?
I think that brings up a great point in that, like, even with the story I told about me, it wasn't me figuring out, it wasn't me sitting around going, I want to see God in the situation.
Right.
It was God saying, hey, shut up.
Right.
This is what I'm doing.
Right.
And so the closer we are to God, the more likely we are of Him speaking into the situation
Right.
and making us aware of what He's doing as opposed to the other way around. So yeah, I agree completely, because I always think, yeah, okay, now I'm going to be more positive in the next time, and then it's just like, no.
Well, I've also noticed in the Bible with stories, they don't often tell us how much time has gone by. They'll say things like, after this happened, this person did that. They don't tell us how much time it took for that person to go stomping around and screaming and hollering and crying and whatever before they got their head on straight and acted.
Wasn't Moses like 80-something when he was called to God, or he was really old when
Yeah, he was up there.
already had a family and everything, and let's do this epic thing for God now.
Yeah.
But for Jonah, they did tell us exactly
Well, yeah.
how
Jonah.
long he
Yes.
got to.
Jonah ran
That's
away.
an important part of it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of it, it doesn't give times, because I think it just skips over a lot of the fits.
Yeah, probably.
Or the time it took for them to get their brains around something.
It doesn't want to enable us to have fits before we fix ourselves.
There's plenty of fits in the Bible.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people that throw fits.
Yeah.
Including Jonah. And Moses.
And Moses. Like, there's a lot of people that are like, I'm not impressed with this.
Well, we tend to beat ourselves up for having those. We tend to think that we're weak in our faith or something when we don't automatically go there. But I think that it's more common than sometimes it's portrayed in the church world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's proven over and over in the Bible that he's so understanding of those fits. Like, those conversations that are in the Bible where the people have been like, I don't want to do this. I'm not impressed with your direction here. And yet, those are some of the same people that are highly acclaimed in the Bible, that are, people that even after all of that, those conversations, they came back around and were listed in, in the people who were amazing, that had the great relationships. So,
When you say that, I feel like that's really understandable that God would understand our fits, because if you think about it like a child understanding a 2-year-old not wanting to get dressed and like get up in the morning, it's like, hey bro, me either, but you know what, here we are, we gotta do it.
That's right.
So yeah, you're gonna understand a little bit more, I think, when it's your own child. But if you hear a child screaming in the middle of Walmart, you're not necessarily gonna be as understanding.
Yeah.
At least I'm not.
That's true.
Yeah. We can look at the stories in the Bible and go, really? You were feeling good about that?
Right.
All right, so what wins do we have over the last couple of weeks that we want to share? Because now we get a chance to do that.
Like,
Yes.
kind of a weird one, but I installed a thermostat and did not electrocute myself, and it works. So.
All right. Yay, God.
I can read instructions even though they were mostly pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, we all made it to vacation.
We did, yeah. If you know anything about the story, that was
We made it there.
we made it there.
We all made it. Most of our cars made it in one piece.
Most. Quick rundown. Jill had a tire kicked into her car that took out the windshield washer fluid. She thought that it had taken out the radiator, and she was stuck alongside the highway. Adam got pulled over because of COVID. Beth and Dom got lost. And I locked my keys in my car in the absolute middle of nowhere. No cell phone service, no nothing. I had to break into my car. So.
Wait. We had to break into your car using sticks and rocks.
Sticks and rocks, yeah. It might be a little scuffed on the passenger side, but we did it. It was quite. It was like, God, this either can be a really cool vacation or we shouldn't have went. So, yeah, we didn't get official verification of either one of those, so we just went and it was fun.
Well, my win wasn't nearly as traumatic, but you know, I felt like when all of this COVID lockdown, work from home, all that, I thought, yes, I get to work from home. This is going to be so awesome, and I hated it. And I was like so super excited to be able to go back to the office this week. So it's like being around people again, and you know, yes, with the social distancing, but still just to see other people, and you know, and be able to, you know, host church again, and you know, and our women's group again. I mean, it's just like, whew, life's getting back more to normal. And I'm like, so then just to be able to have that appreciation of, you took all that away for that period of time, and this really hits home, the Romans, you know, 12:1 and 2, is because it's like to really give your everyday life to Him. I'm like, yeah, my everyday life changed for that month and a half that I was working from home, and I didn't appreciate it until I didn't have it. You know, and so then it's all of a sudden I'm like, thank you, Lord, you're giving me back my normal.
Right.
All that
Praise God for that.
I know, right?
Go God.
See, my win has been kind of on a similar this whole crisis thing. There's been a group of guys I play games with, play cards with, all that stuff, and we really haven't been able to like meet, but we still have basically a group message or whatever that we chat back and forth on, and it's been interesting. Most of them are very left-leaning, and so they'll post stuff like that too, and then I'm just quiet on it, but then they'll ask my opinion on it, and I'm able to actually just share openly what's going on. They all know I'm a youth pastor, they all know where I stand and everything, and they're all talking. They'll go on these rants, it's really funny, they'll just go on all of these rants about stuff like, well, Adam, you've been real quiet, what do you think? And I'll be able to just share with them outright. I'm like, well, I just don't think this is right, here's what I think, here's what the Bible says, all this kind of stuff, and you just kind of see their attitudes like, well, and it's awkward, but it's not like the uncomfortable, we don't want to talk to you. It's just like the truth of the gospel, whatever, is able to just recenter them back to what's important and what matters and whatnot. And so I'm making progress in chatting with them, and it's just been cool to see just an opportunity for people. And I think, well, I'm going to get a little bit into my sermonish that I'm preparing, but the idea is that I think sometimes we talk ourselves out of talking to other people about those things because we think that, oh, they don't want to hear it. But like, we're ready and willing to talk. So, and willing to hear. So it's been really cool that we've been able to go into deeper conversations than just, hey, are you going to buy that new game that just came out? Like,
That's awesome. Good guy. What else we got?
I'm learning how to voice my needs and even figure out what those needs are. That's a personal growth.
That's harder than.
Yeah.
It's harder than you think.
It's harder than those words sound.
Yeah, when somebody's like, so what do you need? I'm like, bro, I don't even know. What do you need? So I'm learning how to figure that out and how to voice it.
Anybody else?
It'll come to us all in
Oh, exactly.
10 minutes.
Post it on Facebook. Put it in the comments. Yeah. Like this, or on YouTube. If you know, like and share, hit the notification, hit the bell, whatever, so you'll know when we come on. All that stuff. Subscribe. You have an unspoken one. All right. Anybody else have an unspoken one? Unspoken wins. All right. Go God. Yeah. All right. Brian, you want to close this out with prayer?
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for just having us gather today. Lord, help us to understand our small wins and our big wins are always backed by you, Lord. When we have those wins, help us to lift those up to you and encourage us to keep our heads up throughout everything that's going on, Lord, that you know the big picture, you know the end. Just help us to get through today, get through this week, and just lift each other up, Lord. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Awesome. It's great to have everybody again. 27th. 27th we're having a bonfire, and then church on the 28th will be at Brad Tabitha's house. So
And all of that can be found on
our family was church.churchtrack.com.
Yes.
I attend.
You plan on spending the night? Okay.
I have lots of tents.
We'll get together
Anybody
with you on
needs a
times
tent,
and
I can loan them a tent.
I like impulsively bought one because I was determined to go camping, and I'm like, yes,
But it also
nice.
means, yeah,
So-
people will need to have their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said on the calendar section, this is not a teaching time. I mean, helping is one thing, but this is not a time where we're gonna, like,
Preach at your face.
well, we're, no,
Show
we're not
people
going
how
to,
to use it.
we're not taking anybody out and showing them how to camp that weekend. This is a night for all of us to just go set up our own stuff that we already know how to do, and hang out together. It's not a time to, like, learn anything new. Learn it before you go.
Right. Blow up your air mattress at least once before
Right.
you get there.
But if you need to borrow a tent, I do have a tent.
Yeah, we'll loan
Does
stuff.
this mean I can go dig a trench in your back field somewhere?
Dig a trench?
There is a section that you can climb the fence and go.
Okay.
That's a cackle.
Maybe
Okay.
trenches will be
That's
6
a
feet
capital.
deep if there's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like digging a trench that night. We've done that and it was not fun.
We're just gonna build a really big cat hole.
If you
We're all
need
gonna
a trench,
share
we
it.
need to talk.
No Taco Bell before you.
Well, thanks.